Hi guys, how you doing? Before we begin, I just want to let you know that I just started a Discord server where we can just discuss pop culture and stuff. If you can want to ask me questions and like my opinions on certain movies, or I can ask you and stuff, if we can just have a civil discussion, or at least I hope it'll be civil, and it'll just be a fun place to talk, you know? And if you want to read my thoughts on movies in general that are completely unfiltered, I have a letterboxd account. Both of these things are in the description below. With that out of the way, enjoy the video.
Why is he doing that? He's starving.
I'll take things I wouldn't have to explain if we just stayed indoors for 600.
I'll take Jeremy yells at the screen cliche for 800, Alex.
Your father is dead, Coriolanus.
Damn, was he killed by your lack of tact?
And that's another 5. Man, we're off to a good start.
It's up to us now to make him proud.
Laying the burden of making a deceased parent proud upon 2 children. They don't need that shit. They can barely find food.
Why are you saying 2 children? Crassus Snow just died, so this burden falls onto his son, Coriolanus. Tigris has nothing to do with this.
Literal compass standing in is a metaphor for moral compass cliche. Compasses basically only exist in movies to do this.
Did this man just imply that the villain of the Hunger Games trilogy is moral?
It's beautiful. Best cousin ever.
Best cousin ever for a cool shirt? Shit, I had a cousin that scored me drugs on the regular, and we live 3 states away. This guy's definition of best could use some expansion.
Then how about you read the books that you say don't matter? They tell you all about their relationship. But even ignoring that, this one line tells us a lot. Tigris is great at making clothes, and that helps Coriolanus. Remember Mockingjay? Katniss in that movie said Tigris was a stylist in the games, so this was already set up 8 years before this movie even came out. Or technically 13 years since the book was published.
Some 10th prize, Tigers. We'll be able to pay the rent.
Landlords.
Sinning landlords. They literally provide housing for people. That's like sitting parents for feeding you.
Taunting American viewers who are terrible drivers with this huge and sexy roundabout.
Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche.
I am Dr. Volumnia Gall.
Dr. Volumnia Gall? These names are from the book of rejected James Bond names, right? Her name is Voluminous Gall.
Let's not pretend this is new for this series. I mean, pita was a baker, and there's literally a bread called pita bread.
Peter Dinklage plays an intellectually tormented genius who spends most of his time intoxicated. That's new, right?
Sinning Peter Dinklage.
The Plinth Prize will no longer be determined by who has the best grades,
Excuse me?
but by who is the best mentor in the Hunger Games.
I am shocked about these changes I never saw coming to a prize I never heard of before. Just shocked, I tell you.
Never heard of before. The students were literally talking about it before they all sat down. You just haven't been paying attention. What a surprise.
Victory in the games is only one of our considerations.
And yet by the end of the 10th Hunger Games, it will be the only consideration.
That's true, but he's talking about right now as they're preparing. Highbottom wants the tributes to be spectacles in the games, not survivors. He basically wants them to fight on their own to see who will win.
7. Boy. Vipsania Sickle.
Okay, look, I know Suzanne Collins is known for making inventive names for this world, but Vipsania Sickle doesn't sound like a name. It sounds like an overpriced energy drink they'd sell at a rave. So here's a sin for that, and raves in general.
Or just like Plutarch Heavensby doesn't sound like a name?
He keeps reading names and numbers, and it keeps cutting to people like I'm supposed to have any clue what's happening or who is being assigned to whom. Like, that's your job, movie.
It's actually a bit of fan service. The movie doesn't really develop the students as well as the book, but I understand that's because they need to condense the story into a shorter runtime. So throwing these out here so that book readers know is a nice nod that they know what they're doing.
Oh, you'll be happy about this, Miss Crane. Runt Girl, District 12.
Why is Lucy Gray considered a runt girl when we're about to see she's perfectly healthy? Why wasn't the coughing redhead considered the runt girl?
Because she's from District 12. Haven't you paid any attention to this series? They have made it perfectly clear in every movie that 12 is the poorest district, and that's what made it so powerful that the symbol of the revolution came from there. Plus, Lucy Gray is the first victor from that district, so at this point in the timeline, 12 has never had a winner before.
Sing your way out of this one, Lucy Gray.
Way to spoil who the titular songbird is, not Amy Adams.
Jeremy thinks audiences can figure out that Lucy Gray is a songbird even though she's played by Rachel Flippin Zegler. She was one of the best parts of Spielberg's West Side Story.
Not since The Lost World have I seen such a comedic overreaction to a snake going down someone's shirt. Want to get bit? Jump around and wiggle. Agitate the danger noodle.
I highly doubt you have ever had a snake crawling inside you, so how do you know what it would feel like? And granted, it's never happened to me either, but panicking feels like the right reaction, especially since it's never happened to Mayfair before, and lots of people have a phobia of snakes anyway, just like Indiana Jones.
Nothing you can take from me.
Holy shit, this is a musical?
But didn't you say that this movie has the word songbird in the title? Now you're pretending you didn't know this was a musical. Why else would they have hired Rachel Zegler?
Nothing you can take.
What is happening?
Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
You saw her, she's underfed, unstable.
Sounds like each and every one of my college girlfriends.
Oh, shut up.
I'll get her to sing again.
What? This movie has absolutely not explained why she sang, and now fails to explain why he would want her to do that again. Is singing in this world not like singing in our world? Is it some kind of power? Is it something most people can't do?
Why aren't you paying attention? You know hundreds of thousands of people are gonna watch this video, and you'll most likely be fact-checked on things. Lucy Gray sang because she wanted to bash the Capitol, basically. If you didn't ask what was happening while she was singing, you would have heard the lyrics say that they can't take anything from her. As for why Coriolanus thinks singing would help her, remember in the original film when Haymitch told Katniss and Peeta that they needed to make people like them? Doing that would help you survive the games. The same logic applies here. Lucy Gray made an impression on Reaping Day. If everyone likes her, then she might survive and make Coriolanus the winner since he's her mentor.
Inspecting people as they get off a train. Maybe let's not do this.
It's almost like the guy who's doing this is a villain or something.
When I was little, my mama used to bathe me in buttermilk and rose petals.
That sounds super wasteful on all counts, if I'm honest.
Man, there is a lot of yelling at the screen in this one.
Why does the rainbow girl here get special treatment?
If I have to explain the movie up till now to every new character that comes along, this thing is going to be nearly 2.5 hours long.
And now you're sitting the length? Dude, you made this video 20 freaking minutes. How long do you think this one you're watching is?
I'm Lucretius Lucky Flickerman.
Why is the original announcer of the Hunger Games related to the announcer we saw in the J-Law movies? Is announcing the Hunger Games like royalty, where it's passed down from son to son? Or is this more of a nepotism trumps talent type of Jack Joe Buck situation?
Or maybe Lucky's son liked what he was doing and decided to do the same thing when he grows up.
She's only 4.
Well, I think 4 is a very smart age to be.
That is nonsense. Literal gibberish. 4-year-olds are dumb as f***.
You think she'd say that to a 4-year-old? No wonder you don't have kids.
If Lucy Gray is brave enough to be here, then why shouldn't I be too?
For the record, I didn't have a choice.
Lucy Gray better stop sitting this movie before me, or I'll have her imprisoned and sent to a lethal game where contestants sin each other to—
Wait, what's the sin? Lucy Gray didn't have a choice and that's a sin in the movie? Or wait, are you saying she's stating a fact and that's something you also do? It's probably the latter.
What are the Hunger Games for?
to show the world America can take Kushin Takami's book and make an inferior copy?
Crap, we're bringing back that Battle Royale comparison. I thought we were done with that joke years ago.
When you saw those kids in the zoo, they just wanted to get to know Lucy Gray.
They did not. The kids appeared quite bored, much like the narrator of a certain YouTube channel right now.
Jeremy implies this movie is boring. Now, he has a right to feel this way, but this movie got pretty good reviews from critics and audiences, so if he's trying to please people, he's failing.
In the time it takes for him to put the napkin on his lap, the second half of the sandwich goes from being stacked above the first half to lined up perfectly with it in the next shot. I hate myself.
You point out a continuity error, while at the same time are not at all subtle with that terrible audio splicing. I stopped pointing this out because I'm guilty of it too, but I'll make an exception this time because of the irony.
You think I can't hear your stomach growling just a pigs?
What I think is no regular human would say someone's full name at the end of a sentence like this without a script telling them to, so we can get Jessup's name.
Is that why parents yell at kids' full names when they're telling them to do something?
What happened to his neck?
Rat butt.
Where's Morbius when you need him?
That laugh and an arbitrary movie reference.
You're just lucky that your songbird didn't.
You know what? I'm f***ing tired of everyone calling her Songbird and acting like she's an amazing singer who has singing powers. We saw her sing once, and it was kind of screamy.
Hey, that is Rachel Zegler you're talking about. I know people have opinions about things she's said, especially around Snow White, but she is an amazing singer. Take another 10 cents right now.
Trust me, that one hasn't been a girl in a long time.
Nice language, Grandma Mama. Nice. Drinking on the job.
Even more yelling at the screen. Even I don't like how high the sin count is getting.
Carrying my mama's dress is the only thing keeping me together here.
This is the weirdest character ever. She probably gave an amazing performance, but the way they've chosen to edit her performance and write her dialogue makes her sound like a computer trying to sound human.
How does her being a weird character have anything to do with her performance? These sound like two completely different things.
I can't send you gifts in the arena without their money.
So this pretty young lady needs to perform in order to get gifts from her older male sponsor?
You're saying this as if the movie is saying this is okay. And I'm pretty sure even the movies are aware this system is not fine.
So, please, Miss Dovecote, retrieve it for us, won't you?
This snakes don't attack sense they're familiar with bullshit is only shown to us now, so it can be a big twist reveal later in the games. And if I want foreshadowing with all the subtleness of Gallagher smashing a watermelon, I just watch, well, Gallagher smashing a watermelon.
Okay, cool. You're sending the foreshadowing for being too obvious. I'm just curious, what do you think they should have done instead? This is the issue with a ton of your sins. You say there's a problem, but then don't provide the solution.
Welcome to the arena for the 10th annual Hunger Games.
The whole of the games are going to take place inside this tiny concert hall?
Yes.
Floors cave in, and then the entire ceiling caves in, and the movie is still going to show us a bunch of Hunger Games contestants ready to compete after this scene, even though basically everyone should be dead now and forever. Goddamn.
A handful of them are dead. Why do you think there wouldn't be survivors?
They're not still going ahead with the games.
Now, that's a stupid question. Of course they are. The smart question is, are they going to move the games to a more interesting and less bombed arena? And the answer to that question is somehow no.
Well, yeah, they've got a schedule to keep. And this time they'll be more prepared to stop any more bombings.
Her singing is getting her a ton of donations. So how long before the others start juggling naked or just doing porn? Does Pan Am have laws in place for an OnlyFans situation?
No, the real sin is, where did she get that guitar? In the book, Coriolanus had to go into a pub and ask someone to lend it to him, and then he gave it to her. But the movie cut that scene and then didn't explain where the guitar came from. I understand they had to condense the story, but a throwaway line would have at least been nice.
As this nurse cries, listening to the Songbirds song, I have to ask, has this person never heard singing before? Is that actually the point here? Not that she's an amazing singer, but that she's the first to dare to sing in ages? Because that would be compelling. But the movie isn't actually telling us that story. Instead, the movie says she's an amazing singer and everyone's mesmerized and emotional because her voice is the most beautiful thing they've ever heard.
You would be totally right if that's all that was happening. But how about you listen to her song? She's singing about her personal life, and that moves the capital enough to want to root for her. It's similar to how everyone was rooting for Katniss and Peeta's star-crossed romance in the 74th Hunger Games.
Lucy Gray. Hey, you're alive.
No guards on patrol. Spotter over here, Snow and Lucy conspiring to cheat. Are there seriously no extra guards watching the tributes after a rebel bombing and one escaping?
I'm pretty sure he asked to come in here, and they were fine with it.
You saved me, Lucy Gray.
I wish just one goddamn motherfucking time he would call her Lucy, or Luce, or Gray, or LG, instead of always using both her first names.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's not what she wanted. She made it perfectly clear when Lucky Flickerman was interviewing her that she prefers Lucy Gray. It's like if I called you a name you don't like. You think you'd be okay with that?
And there will come a time when you need this.
There will come a time when she needs rat poison?
Haven't you seen this movie already? I mean, you clearly have, since you earlier mentioned that you know the snakes were foreshadowing Coriolanus using a handkerchief to save Lucy Gray's life. If you know that, then you definitely know that she does use this rat poison in the games and even accidentally kills an innocent girl.
We are gonna win this. Lucy Gray.
Lucy Gray, 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 Lucy Gray.
Okay, now that is literally yelling at the screen.
Spend your father's money. Do some real good.
If you have access to incredible wealth and still lack the imagination on how to properly help others, I'm not sure what to tell you, Janice. You might just be a dumbass.
He was emotionally distracted with mourning Marcus's death after he tried to escape and the Capitol tortured him. I don't think he was thinking at all.
You've had enough of the games tonight, I see.
I, too, have had enough of the games tonight.
I highly doubt that. You literally criticized the first two films for waiting too long to get to the games. Heck, I'm surprised you didn't do that with this one.
Who could imagine Crassus Snow's baby boy fighting for his life in the arena one day?
I thought the games were only in their 10th year, though. So no one could have imagined that because the games didn't exist.
So you're agreeing with her?
Also, if you get evicted in the capital, do you have to go live in one of the districts? Do they have homeless shelters in the capital? Because I don't think that they do.
When they do get evicted after the games, Tigris tells Coriolanus while he's in District 12 that they had to move in with someone else and are paying rent. So there.
Holy shit, It's been the whole night and this guy is still shaking and shivering and crying, and she somehow spent the last 8 hours next to this f***er and did not kill or ditch him.
They're from the same district. She literally risked her life to save him in the beginning against Coriolanus' warnings to not trust him.
Rabies, it makes you afraid of water. Send him a drone.
Wow, you diagnosed him with rabies faster than WebMD told me I had gout.
Because he saw foam in his mouth?
That's 2 tributes Snow has now killed. Maybe it's guilt that actually turns him evil, yeah?
You're saying he's not already evil? The fact that he came up with the idea of sponsorships and betting kinda tells me he was never a good person. And technically Lysistrata killed him, since she was the one who sent this water.
I'm just sending water.
Nice try, Snow, but God already tried using that same line after Genesis 6. I didn't let him off the hook, and I'm not buying it from you either.
Pretty sure God was up front on why he sent water after most of the population.
Trying to attack someone who has the high ground. You're just begging to lose your limbs and be left for dead next to a river of lava.
Arbitrary movie reference.
That's 3 tallies on Snow's sheet.
Technically it was Lucy Gray. Yes, Coriolanus gave her the poison, but she was the one who made the killing blow.
Wow, this moment would be so much more impactful if we'd gotten to know anything about any of the other tributes, like in the last Hunger Games movies.
But it's still sad, isn't it? These are children that are forced into an arena away from their families, and they have to kill other kids to survive. And I'm fine with the movie not trying to make us try to care about every tribute. There's only so much you can do in a 2.5-hour runtime.
Before the sun goes down tonight, a rainbow of destruction will engulf our arena, even if it means there's to be no victor in these games.
This is the political equivalent of, if I can't have it, no one can.
Not really. Didn't you hear her say that she doesn't want the tributes to make a mockery out of the Capitol, especially after one of the tributes ripped down their flag? They have the biggest ego ever.
Give me a drink. Give me a drink right now.
This was right about the part of the movie where I asked our intern to get me a drink. He then promptly
skip.
Your songbird, Lucy Gray, put on a wonderful show.
But she didn't. And she's still only sung twice in this movie. Albert Brooks sings twice in broadcast news, but nobody's out here calling him Songbird.
Why are you ignoring the actual songs themselves? They both had meaning behind them that showed who Lucy Gray is. It wasn't just that she's a great singer.
This works.
And why wouldn't it? Coriolanus made it perfectly clear that this powder is extremely poisonous. Just breathing it in is fatal.
The snakes take out at least 3 tributes, and yet there is still an entire ass hour of this movie left to go.
Just like with the original trilogy, you seem to think this movie is entirely about the Hunger Games. And listen, if these movies were, I seriously doubt they would be as popular and beloved as they are. How about you pay attention to the subtitles? Catching Fire was referencing the rebellion rising up. Mockingjay was referencing the symbol of that rebellion. And here, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is directly referencing the story of Coriolanus Snow and Lucy Gray Baird. Whether or not this stuff is interesting to you is a personal preference, but I don't think it's a sin of the film.
I can't have killed them all for nothing.
This is the most hilarious form of selfishness I've ever seen.
Yeah, she's from District 4, one of the 3 most loyal districts to the Capitol. And are you seriously saying selfishness is a sin now? Really? Isn't that like most villains?
Headed for heaven.
She's singing to the snakes. She's singing to the snakes. She is singing to the snakes.
You know, if you don't want this sin count to be so high, then stop yelling at the screen.
She's won! Lucy Gray! Coriolanus Snow is the winner of the 10th annual Hunger Games!
Wait, you just contradicted yourself. Didn't Lucy win the games? Snow was just her mentor. Or is this like when they give Grammys to singers but not the musicians?
You just said it. Coriolanus is her mentor, so he also won the games by default. Plus, he also wins the Plinth Prize, and if you know anything about the Plinths, they're as rich as Batman.
We both know that child from 11 didn't die of disease.
She might have. If that rat poison didn't kill her, the disease was probably just seconds behind.
Okay, so what's the sin? If the poison didn't kill her, then she would have died anyway? You're just saying something could have happened if something didn't take place? How is that a sin in this movie?
And that old handkerchief. We found it in the snake tank, appropriately. Condemning you with your father's own initials.
Why didn't he cut the initials off the cloth before putting it in the tank? Honestly, this guy is such a moron, I kind of think he deserves to get punished.
You think he had time? And I doubt he was thinking clearly too, since he just wanted to save Lucy Gray, someone he's clearly grown attached to.
Finally. The sound of snow. Falling.
Jesus f***ing Christ, was this script written by a hammer?
Sending this line.
So what I did in the arena? My father had to buy the academy a brand new gym just so I could get my diploma. But once I found out where they were sending you, I couldn't get out fast enough.
Wait, what? Does he know Snow is in love with Lucy Gray and not him? I realize Snow saved his life, but doing all this is pretty f***ing extreme as far as payback goes.
These two are friends. They always have been.
If there is a games next year, they're probably going to invite her to sing at the opening ceremony.
Well, invite is an overly polite word choice. They'll probably force her to at gunpoint.
Which is most likely what he meant when he said that. I'm pretty sure Sejanus, of all people, knows the capital fairly well.
What were you thinking back there?
She didn't do anything, Corio. What is she guilty of?
Being directly associated with rebels.
Holy sh**! Did he go from mostly good to full throttle evil during a train ride?
No, he has always been evil. Actually, he's always hated the rebels. Remember the opening flashback with him and Tigress as kids? If anyone is associated with the people that scarred him for life, they're bad in his eyes. Also misspelling Corio in the subtitles.
Are you coming to the tree?
I'm half convinced this final unnecessary act of the movie solely exists to throw in some forced callbacks to the others. Didn't you want to know where that song the District 12 citizens sang once came from? It's Lucy Gray! Don't you feel good knowing that? It's like finding out where Han Solo's last name came from.
District 12? Didn't you send Mockingjay? I know you did, because I sent that video. Katniss was the only one from that district we saw singing The Hanging Tree, and then they showed the people from 5 singing it when they blew up that dam. Not only that, how is this callback forced? This movie has made it perfectly clear that Lucy Gray is a songwriter, and we even saw Hanging Tree when a rebel who blew up a mine was executed. He also screamed at his friend to run, which the song references in the lyric where I told you to run so we'd both be free. I say they did a pretty good job setting this up, and it is nothing like that dumb Han Solo scene. This actually serves the story and characters, while that's just unnecessary filler.
On the lonesome wild.
Man, earlier she never sang, but they called her Songbird all the time. Now the movie has heard my complaints and has wildly overcompensated.
Probably should have removed the sin then for realizing how stupid you sound then, huh?
Mockingjays, we call them.
Jesus Christ.
So, it's a sin to have Mockingjays in this movie? Aren't they literally the symbol of the entire franchise? It was on the cover of the very first book, for crying out loud.
What if this was our life, Coriolanus? Not here.
God, this is the longest mid-credit scene ever, though it's oddly taking place before the credits.
Jeremy, I know you find this last third boring. Can you just award the movie one sin or a handful of sins and move on?
Some people call it swamp potato, but I think Katniss has a much nicer ring, don't you?
You know what? We're not even 5 minutes out from the last callback, so here's 10 sins for another forced reference to earlier movies. Give me a reason for this final act to exist aside from Easter eggs.
Oh, stop it. There is a point to this third part of the film. It's to further develop this friendship and explain why Coriolanus becomes the man we know and hate in the original trilogy. And how is this Easter egg forced? Katniss has always been named after a flower. Heck, not only is Katniss a real flower anyway, but they're in District 12, where J-Law will one day be born. It makes sense it would be here, since where else would Mr. and Mrs. Everdeen have heard that name if this flower didn't come from their district?
Man, he's got more kills than Gimli or Legolas at this point.
Did you seriously go into a movie that shows a villain's backstory and not expect it to show him killing? That's like going into the Star Wars prequels and being surprised to see Anakin Skywalker killing Jedi.
Have you ever been to a music club or bar where there were folk performers on stage? Do you think you would not hear a rifle shot from the green room in those circumstances?
The movie already explained this by showing the people in this pub dancing so loudly that they didn't hear these gunshots.
So apparently Dr. Gall got the bird Snow sent, and that's why this dude is now about to be hanged. And I guess Snow knew that would happen? What a dick. Regardless, there are 3 more bodies about to be added to his ledger, and he is a prolific killer.
There is so much wrong with this sin. I just want to break this down. Let's start from the beginning.
So apparently Dr. Gall got the bird Snow sent, and that's why this dude is now about to be hanged.
Why are you saying this dude? That's Sejanus you're talking about. Remember the guy that's been against the Hunger Games since the beginning? And who's been trying to help some rebels escape?
And I guess Snow knew that would happen? What a dick.
Yes, Coriolanus knew that he would die since he was conspiring with rebels. And yeah, he's a dick. Do you know that this guy goes on to become president of Pan Am and he still condones kids killing each other?
Regardless, there are 3 more bodies about to be added to his ledger, and he is a prolific killer.
Sejanus is the only person here that Coriolanus directly killed because he sent the Jabberjay that recorded his plan to Dr. Gall. These other 2 were caught by peacekeepers. Coriolanus had nothing to do with them. And why are you sending him for being a killer? Again, this is the same guy Donald Sutherland played. Do you remember how terrible of a person he was? It makes sense that he's responsible for a lot of deaths. Jeez Louise, you are bad at watching movies.
Somehow, she still wants to be with him.
Because she doesn't know that he killed Sejanus yet.
There was Bobbin in the arena in Mayfair, and who's the third?
My old self.
Lying.
Again, you are literally sending a villain for doing bad things. You can't make this up. Plus, here he is telling you how many people he's killed in this film, and you somehow didn't go back to rewrite all the times you counted each one.
If we destroy that gun, you're free.
Wouldn't you also be free, Lucy?
No, she wouldn't. The reason she's running away is because the mayor thinks that she killed his daughter. Do you not remember when Lucy Gray put a snake in her dress?
The president has agreed to another year of the games.
Let's just hope Lionsgate doesn't.
So are you saying the upcoming movie about Hamish surviving against 47 tributes wouldn't be awesome to see? Well, I've been patting the sin count too much already, so here's another few for that.
Are you coming to the tree?